What is going on, guys? Today we are going to go over lesson 2 for Intro to Python for beginners. And today we're going to be talking about renaming variables as well as some string functions. So before we get into our string functions, we are actually going to talk about a very important concept. I get a lot of students, a lot of followers that say, but it's not an error, it's just throwing my calculations off, things like that. So we're going to be talking about a topic that's very important called renaming variables. What I mean by that is, if we have a variable like age, and let's say that the age is 12. We all know so far from the first lesson that when I print age here and hit run, it's going to print out 12, okay? Very easy. But what if I put age again? But now age is something else. Well, which is it? Is it going to print 12? Is it going to print 17? Or is it going to throw an error? Most of my students will say, well, it will throw an error or it will say nothing. So if I hit run, you can see it prints 17. Now, why is that? Our compiler will read our code left to right, top to bottom, just like we do with a book. So it reads age equals 12, then it reads age is 17. And once it gets to this print statement, well, print's like, well, I need to print age. The last time I saw age was 17. If I put a print statement right here and I printed age, it's going to print 12 because the last time it saw age, it was 12. It never even saw this yet. It doesn't even know it exists because it did not read it yet. So that's why it says 12 now, right there. And when it prints down here, it says 17. You want to be careful with renaming variables, and that's where all those weird complications come from for my students or followers. Especially if you are creating a long program, it's very easy to accidentally rename the same variable. So if I want a couple of different ages, that's fine, but maybe be a little bit more specific with your variable naming. So let's say that we wanted to actually store the age that they signed up for your application, then maybe we can say sign up age, and this one might be current age. Just by looking at that, I know exactly what these are. Maybe make your variables very specific. So it's important to make sure that you keep your variables nice and specific. Have very good naming variables. Don't ever call your variables X or Y. You might see that a lot on the internet, but that is horrible practice. Never do that. Now, sometimes it's actually a good thing to rename variables. Let's say you're creating a video game. If you have a score, well, when the player first starts off the game, normally the score just starts out as 0, right? But as they go down the line with the code, maybe they're making points. So now score is 10, maybe score is then 15, maybe the score eventually ends up being like 30. When I print that score, well, I don't want to print the score that they started out with or even these middle two. I want it to print the last one, right? So when I hit run, it's going to print 30, which is great. So sometimes, again, it is good to rename variables. Now with that out of the way, let's get into string functions. So string functions, if you remember what a function is from lesson 1, and if you haven't seen lesson 1 yet, go ahead and check out this video above. Functions are pre-built code. Someone else already wrote all this code for us. All we have to do is the function name. So for example, we had print. Print is a function, so the function will have the function name, and then normally it will have parentheses right after that. So string functions are functions built just for strings. So I want you to create a variable. We'll call this sentence, and just do whatever you want. I'm going to say Superman can fly. Very simple. Have at least a few words so that you can see how these functions are going to work properly. So the first one, this will uppercase everything in the string. So let's say that I wanted to print sentence. We all know that if we run print sentence, it's just going to say exactly what I had in my string. Okay, but here's where your string functions come into play. So after you've named the data you want to manipulate, in our case sentence, we're going to do a dot and then the name of the function. Now in some IDEs like PyCharm, you've got all these string functions that autocomplete. There's tons and tons. We're just going to go over about 5 today, and we're going to say dot upper, and upper is a function, so it needs to have its own set of parentheses. This right parentheses is for this print function. Okay, so you do need to have that. Make sure you have 2 parentheses just for the upper. So there's really like 3 over here. That might be confusing at first, but once you get it, you should get it. So now watch what happens when I hit run. Now it says Superman can fly in all caps, which is awesome. You can probably guess how to lowercase everything. So I'm going to print, again, sentence, because that's what I want to manipulate, dot, and you probably guessed it, lower. Make sure it has those parentheses. And now when I hit run, you can see what used to be a capital S is now lowercased. And believe it or not, I actually use lower all the time. For example, if I had a API or a database, someone else's information that I'm trying to use for my program, such as if I were building a weather app, I don't have all that information for every city in the world. That comes from a database. So their database most likely will have everything lowercase. Well, if a user is trying to search for a certain thing inside of the database again will be lowercase, but if they're using any capitalizations in their input, then it's not going to find it. Whatever the user types in, we'll usually use .lower to lowercase everything that they said so that it can find it properly in the database. So that's going to be very effective. You'll probably see something like that in my Morse Code translator. If you want to see that program, check out this tab just above and I'll show you exactly how I use that. Now let's say that we wanted this Superman can fly to look more like a book or movie title. Capitalization wise, a title should have every first letter capitalized. So this will titleize the string. So I'm just going to do my normal print statement with sentence and I'm going to say dot title. So if I hit run, it says Superman can fly, and you can see that every first letter of each word has been capitalized. So that's working wonderfully. This next one's very simple. This will capitalize the first letter of the string. So I don't use this as often, but if you ever needed to capitalize someone's first name or something like that, then you can use this. So print sentence dot capitalize. I already have this capitalized, so I'm actually going to lowercase this up here so you can see it work. Now you can see it has been capitalized. So that just does the very first letter of the entire string. And then this last one is very cool. A lot of my students really like this one. This will replace anything inside of the string. So let's say that I wanted to find a word in here. Let's take fly for instance. So I'm going to say print sentence dot replace. Replace takes 2 arguments, so 2 pieces of information we need to put inside of the replace function's parentheses. The first one, I'm going to do a string of the word that I want it to find. I wanted it to find the word fly. Outside of that string, I'm going to do a comma. Now it's time for my second argument. The second argument will tell the replace function to replace the word fly with shoot lasers. So when I hit run, now, instead of saying Superman can fly, it says Superman can shoot lasers. That is working wonderfully. So all that did was find the word fly and replace it with whatever I wanted. Shoot lasers in this instance. So make sure that if you're writing fly, well, if you wrote a different sentence, you might not have the word fly. So make sure that it has something in there. If I did something that's not in there, like boots, and hit run, nothing's going to change because it never found the word boots. So let's put this into practice. Let's use some string interpolation that we learned about in lesson 1. So I just put these new variables up here. Name equals Bob and TV show equals The Office. Now, if we do string interpolation like we learned last time, so we'll have our sentence. I'll say, hi, I am name. I love to watch TV show. If you don't remember how to do string interpolation, we just put everything that we want to be Python code surrounded by these squiggly braces and then the letter F before your first quotation mark. So now those should change colors and now I can use Python code. So if I hit run, it says, hi, I am Bob. I love to watch The Office. So let's use a couple of these string functions. So I'm going to say, maybe this capitalize would be good for the name. So I'm going to say name dot capitalize. So if I hit run, now it says, hi, I am Bob with the first letter capitalized. Perfect. And now for this TV show, I think it should be dot title. And now you can see I love to watch The Office. The Office is now capitalized, so that should work with any title, right? And so it doesn't matter what the user says, it will do this dynamically for them. So thank you so much for coming to lesson 2. Stick around for lesson 3 and we will get into indexing, which is really important for looking into APIs and databases. If you like these videos, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and don't forget to click on the notification bar so that you are notified whenever that next video comes out for you. If you have any questions or suggestions for my next tutorial, please let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much. See you in lesson 3. Happy coding.